started. We are already a few minutes behind our scheduled start. I'm just going to go ahead and start. I think I know many of you, but just in case we haven't met, my name is Gerald Wilson. I'm the university's Director of Entrepreneurship, and one of my responsibilities is running this fantastic incubator, EnterpriseWorks. If this is your first time to EnterpriseWorks, welcome. We're excited that you're here joining us for today's workshop, which is the first of a series that we're doing on startups. So it's our startup launch series. Today we have the pleasure of having James Janega joining us. James has been an EIR with EnterpriseWorks for a number of years. He's an expert on innovation and an expert on communication. And essentially today's workshop is going to be a combination of both things. As someone with a startup background, myself, one of the things I know, especially for those of us with more technical backgrounds, is that there's a tendency to basically fall to the curse of knowledge, I guess, is one way to put it. We know so much about the technical capabilities of things we're working on, and sometimes we can find it really difficult to restrain ourselves from overwhelming potential partners with all that detail. I've been guilty of it myself over the course of my career. It's a work in progress for many of us. And I do have the opportunity when I walk visitors through EnterpriseWorks, introducing them to you all, to hear your elevator pitches, essentially, right? And I'm not saying they're bad, okay? I'm just saying that they need some work, which is why I reached out to James to come in and help us today. So I'm pleased to have James joining us. This is going to be a working session. We're expecting to have to roll up our sleeves this afternoon and actually have a work product around an elevator pitch that you can take with you. So with that, please join me in welcoming James Janega.
Thank you, everyone. So I'll tell you a story. I'm writing a book, and my son is in 8th grade, and he came in and he was looking at my book, and he said, can I read it? I was writing through the introduction. And I said, yeah, if you want to take a look at this. And he said, do I have to be smart to understand it? And I thought about that for a second, and I thought, no, I have to be smart for you to understand it. But I have to be able to explain this topic in a way that you're going to get it, even though you didn't go to school to learn what I did. And that's the challenge that we all have when we're working in, especially a deep tech startup, in something where we're going to have to talk about the same thing again and again in a way that's slightly different for a different kind of receiver to get the impact from that story that we need that story to produce, to have. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. The placemat that you see in front of you, and I've got enough slides to talk for a couple of minutes so that you can finish eating before we start writing things, is designed to help you think about and work through together at least the first 3 boxes of this in our working session today, so you can get the core of your elevator pitch ready. Why an elevator pitch? I do not want to prepare you for Shark Tank. This is not about innovation theater. The purpose of doing an elevator pitch is that this is the core of your story that you will tell in any kind of different format. One of our colleagues is preparing a pitch for Y Combinator. Another one is looking for funding to build out a prototype. Still another is looking for funding to test another scientific principle, right? But before any of those asks can be made, we have to be able to understand our own story and be able to communicate it in a way that the receiver will understand so they get through it. So that's where I wanted to start. As Gerald mentioned, I teach communication and I teach innovation. What I want to make sure that we all start with is level setting about what it is that we're accomplishing here today and how we're going to figure out our entrepreneurial story, our pitch. Raise your hand if you have seen this before. Great. a lot of people have. I want to make sure that we all understand this, because at the core of this is what's particularly difficult for deep tech founders. This is the business model canvas. When we teach entrepreneurship, this is the way that we teach it, because it simplifies the entire business model to 9 different parts of 9 different boxes on one sheet of paper. And you can fill this out. When we classically do this, we start with a customer segment. And I understand that that will be weird to you because you're not. And I'm going to show you why this is hard for you. Classically, we say, who is our customer? What job are they trying to accomplish that our service provides? And so the answer to that question is, who our customer segment is, and the answer to that is our value proposition. How we're going to help you get that job done with what the service or the product that we will give you. And there's more to that. We have these key resources. This is our intellectual property. This is our physical stuff. This is our toolkit that's unique, that makes us capable to create that value proposition to be able to provide that service to a customer segment. There are key activities that are processes that we will do that will use our IP and our stuff and our toolkit to be able to deliver that value proposition to our customers. The channels are how we are going to physically get our product or virtually digitally get our products to our customers. Our customer relationships are sort of how high touch that ongoing relationship is. Will we provide services? Won't we provide services? Will we onboard them? Is it do it yourself? All of those elements. There may be partners that we need to be able to provide all of that, and all of that costs us money to be able to do, until finally you'll make some money from this, right? So when you can think of all 9 of these boxes, then you have an idea of what your business is. If you work in business, you can run your department and run your business through this model just to understand how it works. And if you can explain all of this, then you can explain your business to somebody else. It's really useful. But here's the thing. If every other entrepreneur in the world is starting with some customer problem that they're going to come up with a solution to solve, you are different. You are different. You are in deep tech, and you are starting here. Everything else is blank. You are a scientist in a research laboratory. You are a specialist in a particular technology. You have IP. You may or may not have some physical stuff. You are developing some toolkit, and what you have to do is figure out how to make that valuable to someone. So that's the challenge that you have that's unique here, and this is what we're going to work on. So let's simplify this deep tech, this business model canvas to a deep tech business model canvas, right? Let's ignore partners, let's ignore some of this other stuff. In fact, we're even going to ignore cost structure and revenue. But we're going to make the central part of figuring out our story today. We're going to start with what it is that we do, the research that we do, the approach that we've developed, our IP, and figure out how to make that more valuable. Because then if you go from there and you go outward, we're going to say, okay, what segments can we serve where what we can do will serve a new segment or help that segment to solve a better problem than they currently solve? Or we're going to reach out with customer relationships that will right-size the amount of effort involved in solving this problem to the appropriate level. By working with us, it'll just be easier, it'll serve your ambitions. We will make a value proposition that is more exciting, right? Something that is more valuable, more interesting, that opens up more possibilities for our customers. We will make it faster and more convenient through their channels. We will earn new revenue or more revenue for our customers by using our product, as we will earn new revenue ourselves. We will reduce the cost of service because our technology will make it faster, better, and cheaper, and our activity will make it easier. This makes a little bit more sense when you're thinking through this as a deep tech as a deep tech startup. The hero of this story, however, is still that new customer segment, right? We're going to start with what it is that we know, but the first step we'll want to workshop today is who might that help? If you have a laptop, you will have chances to use that today. Otherwise, you're going to do it off the top of your head. If you need to run out and grab it and come back in, that might be a good idea when we get to some of these parts, because two things are going to be our friend and assistant in helping us to do this today, in addition to our minds and what we already have at hand, and that is going to be Perplexity AI and ChatGPT. Those two tools are going to help us to, in the one case, research who might need our technology might need, and how to explain that in a way that's a little bit easier than we might be used to telling the story in the way that we like. We're going to give it too much detail, and we need to simple it down. Let me give you an example. This is a prompt that I chucked into Perplexity.ai. Has anybody used this before? This is an AI-powered search engine, Perplexity.ai. It looks at your prompt. This prompt in black and white on the left is what I gave it, and it Googles that for you. It does 30 simultaneous Google searches based on what it understands your prompt to require, and then it collates and surfaces all in one response, sort of the high-level view of what that answer looks like, with flagging footnotes for where those sources are. So in this case, I have asked Perplexity, I have asked AI to act as a technology business analyst covering developments in fill your technology here. What does fill in your technology here do? What problems does it solve? Please explain it in vocabulary a 3rd, 5th, and 8th grader would understand. This takes you away from the science explanation and makes you explain it to your child. Once you understand that, what competing technology solves for that now? What's the current best solution for this problem? And what industries and use cases use that? Provide how each works and the advantage and limitations versus your technology here. So what have I done? I've said, okay, we're going to start from technology, but you're an expert, ChatGPT or Perplexity AI, in this technology. You're an analyst who covers this. As an analyst, what competing technologies does this compete with, and who uses those, and which are good? And keep it simple. Explain it to me as you would a child. Now, which of those industries and use cases that you've just explained back to me, AI, are under pressure to develop solutions that are faster, better, cheaper, more competitive in the marketplace versus their current competitors, or face industry use cases that might be more relevant to end users, right? I gave it a series of questions that sort of expand that picture, which we've narrowed in on the technology. I want to look at what other technologies compete with it, who uses those, and who's under pressure. Because those people under pressure are potential customer segments. If you have a customer segment, this work is done for you. If you wonder what other customer segments might I serve, this will get you there a little bit faster. Understand that AI is incredibly stupid. So this is not going to give you a 100% reliable answer, but it will start to get you thinking. And that's the first step that I did in this. What I wanted to do is show you how this would work for a company that is an alumnus of this EnterpriseWorks facility, and that company is TipTech. TipTech's technology was field-directed sputter sharpening. Can anybody tell me what field-directed sputter sharpening is? Of course you cannot. You're only PhDs after all, but not in this, right? So let's be fair to our audience. We have to be able to say that FDSS uses electricity to shape metal tips atom by atom. FDSS tips stay sharper longer. Okay, so you can make really sharp points. You've got an atomic pencil sharpener. What are you going to use that for? Well, I went through this process that I showed you on the last slide, and it turns out there are a number of different industries and use cases that might use such a technology. Those include semiconductor fabrication, who needs to test their new circuits, material science, that want to create new alloys and coatings and test them, quantum computing R&D might want to use that, and biotech might want to use that. And I focused on one, semiconductor fabrication, because I happen to know that that's the direction that they went in, and it was the top of the list. If you are creating new microchips, you need to be able to test that this new microchip design works, and effectively what TipTech has been able to do is to serve that market. How? Well, let's look at this customer segment's problem. Chip factories use special microscopic probes to check their tiny circuits. Just like in the electronics laboratory in your old high school, you had the battery, the alligator clips, and the end of a wire to test whether a circuit was going. That's what TipTech does. It's got this tiny little sensor. You put it on this tiny little transistor, and it tests whether electrons are moving through that. That's what it can do. You need to have one of those inside the software manufacturing, semiconductor manufacturing industry, because as you create a new design, you make them in batches. You need to test them batch by batch to make sure they're working, or you'll make entire batches of semiconductors that don't work, and that's an enormous problem. When the tips are blunt, they make mistakes, and you ship that product. And that's a big problem if you're a semiconductor manufacturer. Well, here's the value proposition. Thanks to field-directed spark sharpening, TipTech's tips stay sharper 10 times longer. TipTech, 10 times longer. Which is pretty cool. And there's a variety of customer relationships, education, channels, direct support that they do, and among the key activities is that they found a way to make this quicker than other methods. They did this out here near Champaign. They now do it in Pennsylvania. They use cheaper metals. They share factory space. They have a development process that allows them to make these tips that are sharper, better, last longer, and serve those people. So you see how all of that works together? Okay. You can almost begin telling yourself a story about, if you were the CEO of TipTech, what your pitch is. Almost. Okay? We are now going to pivot from basic knowledge to storytelling with this information. In a reporting metaphor, you've been out in the field, you've done your interviews, you've got your reporting, now you need to write the story with these facts. One more story. So let's look at this story. FDSS helps factories make smaller, faster chips like the ones in your phone without wasting money on defective batches. This makes them leaders in the $8 billion market for chip-making tools. FDSS, is a key takeaway, is like a supercharged quality control system quality control system. It is sharper, tougher, and smarter than anything else, and it turns chip inspection from a cost into a moneymaker. Right? That's a pretty good pitch. Okay, now I think we're ready to move on. Here's the challenge that you have. Deep tech entrepreneurs have a problem explaining the value of their startups to regular people. Regular people, and I use the term loosely, in this case includes investors, customers, and spouses. The pain point that that creates is that you lose opportunities, you waste time, and if you are invested personally in developing your IP into a business, it's beyond humbling. You're so invested in it, it actually feels humiliating. You feel stupid because you can't explain this to somebody after you've devoted years of your life to understanding it better than anybody else. So what is the promise that I want to deliver to you today in developing a better story. It is that your core story affects every single interaction that you and your company have with the outside world. And today we're going to work through how to do that on the placemat in front of you. Templates and frameworks are very selective. However, we need to explore what is the story behind the answers so that we can adapt that story to a variety of different situations. That is why we're going to do it this way today. The benefits of that are that it gives you the options to address different receivers of your story. In one case, if we can use you, Adam, you've got a product that you can sell to commercial growers, to biopharma companies, or to individual beekeepers. What his company does is he grows bees in laboratories and he sells them as pollinators for a service to commercial growers. That's a $1 million a year agricultural niche that most of us don't realize contributes to the $20 billion of agricultural products that we consume in the United States every year, which was fascinating to me to learn. You can't give the same pitch to the same people that make pesticides as want to have bees in their backyard to pollinate their garden and to make honey. It needs to be a different pitch, let alone to commercial growers for whom this is a factory that just happens to be outside in the field, right? So we need to understand what that core story and benefits are, like we figured out in that last slide, and be able to explain to different kinds of audiences. And with that, we can do a call to action. So the call to action here is to take notes, to ask questions. I've now vamped long enough for you to finish your meal, to push it aside, and pick up your pens and begin working with me as we start working on some of these things. By the way, this structure that you see on this slide is the structure of a pitch. Here's the problem, here's the scope, here's what you're going to get when you buy my product. My product is unique, we approach it differently than anybody else does. The benefits of that are this for you. Can we set up time later on this week to talk more about what problem you're trying to solve and how we can help you solve that? That's a pitch. Okay? Great. I'm going to beat this to death. This is a hard story to tell, right? This is going to be tricky. We will not solve all of this today. There are some stories that are very easy to tell. There are some stories that are hard to tell, and then there's a kind of story that you're going to tell. I'll tell you another story. This is my family a couple of years ago. We went to Paris for the first time. Kids had spring break. First thing we did, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we put our luggage in the hotel. We walked downtown. We went to the Notre Dame. And it was like 6:30 in the evening. And it was too late to go in. So we said, tell you what, we know there's a chocolate shop around the corner. Notre Dame has been here for 800 years. We'll come back tomorrow first thing. And we went around the corner. It was 6:30 p.m. on April the 15th, 2019. 1 hour later. This is a still from my video. And I was live on CNN because I used to be a reporter and I knew a producer there. And this is an easy story to tell. This is material damage. It may be irreparable. It is completely engulfed in flames. All of Paris is silent except for the echoing of sirens off of buildings and the silent gasps of people who were just watching. Right? Nobody was even screaming. It was an amazing story. Here's a hard story. I used to work at Channel 3 here at Champaign, and I covered the state legislature. And the first day that I had a live shot, my first ever live shot on TV, I tried to memorize the script, and it sucked. It was terrible, right? I kept getting tripped up on what it was that I was trying to say, and I forgot that I had anything that was worth listening to. And that's what I want to solve for you. Okay, I would solve that for you. Don't try to memorize this stuff. Just try to know what you know and know who you're talking to. That's going to be our approach today. Because this is the hardest kind of story. I don't just work here, I also work at the Duality Quantum Accelerator in Chicago, where I work with startups that are doing quantum computing and quantum communication. And this is the kind of diagram that those startups give me I was asking before if you understood what DPSS was. Has anybody ever really explored quantum communication? Can anybody explain why this works? Of course you can. You're just PhDs, okay? Here is the challenge. In most classical communication, Alice sends a message to Bob, the receiver, and in the middle is Steve, the eavesdropper. He can just reach up, can't tell when Steve's in there, but he can intercept that message. What quantum does is use entangled photon sources to circumvent Steve. Now, we're no better off than we were before, right? That was the original explanation. And then they went into how they produced the quantum entanglement, the spin rate of the quanta, and all the technical details of all of this. And anybody that's not a quantum physicist is completely lost to that. So here's a way to simplify that. We need to come up with an analogy for this, right? So we're going to start with this. If you were a professional pitcher, Alice is a professional pitcher. Bob is the catcher on her team. Bob gives her the signal for a change-up pitch. Bob's catcher's mitt is a sensitive sensor. It's a sensor, sophisticated sensor. Alice throws the ball with a distinctive curve, and it is caught in the mitt by Bob. Since Bob knows that the signal is supposed to be a change-up, it verifies that if, in fact, there is an undisturbed change-up pitch has arrived in here, and the signal is riding on the outside of that ball, right? That is how quantum communication works. And why it works? Because if Steve tries to reach up to intercept that ball midway, it is not going to arrive in Bob's mitt the same way that it was caught. So you know that it was intercepted. That's how quantum communication works. So sometimes we're going to have to take something that's very sophisticated and make it really, really stupid. And my promise to you today is that as smart as you think you are when you walk in the door after an hour of talking with me, you're going to feel dumber. You're welcome. Okay. So why does communication work? They teach this in the Scouts. Maser. It means message, sender, receiver. If you are a leader in an organization, you need to master Maser. If you are a startup CEO, you need to master Maser. If you are a person who wants to be a better spouse, Maser helps a lot. Want to be a better parent? Maser matters. Message, sender, receiver. You are the sender. You understand what you do, and we're going to work through how that IP is that message that you're going to send. The IP is not going to change. What is going to change is the receiver. The receiver is the most interesting person in this format, because there's a lot of blockers in front of that receiver to your message. They're having a busy day, they've had back-to-backs today, their mind is in a lot of different places. They have preconceptions about what beekeeping is. Receivers are interesting. Receivers are where the action is. You'll have a lot of different receivers to your message. And it's the most interesting moving part. So we need to have an understanding of that story that's going to be able to adjust to those different kinds of receivers. Okay, let's look at a bad pitch and then look at a good pitch. So a bad pitch starts like this. Here's what we do. Our approach results in, a higher value of this, a lower value of that. We think that can address the following pain points in really any number of different industries, markets, and customer segments. The applications are almost limited. Would you like to set up time to come and invest in this with me? Right? At this point, you're lost, and you don't know why you should care if you are the receiver of this message. Most people think it was going okay at first, and then it sort of went off the rails about here. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Is this a show of hands? Is this about where people get lost? We've started with the solution, and we've moved towards We start with our solution and then we move towards a customer problem. The customer problem is vague and our solution is too specific, and that's where we got lost. So that's the problem with this pitch, and so that's what we want to correct today. This is actually how we thought through what our solution might be. So how we think through it has to start from back to front, but when we tell the story, the audience has got to be the hero. Audience has got to be the hero. So here's what a good elevator pitch looks like. You're going to see this again and again. It's on your table in front of it. It goes like this. You know how this specific industry struggles with this problem? The scope of that problem is billions of dollars and years wasted. It's a really big problem. We fix that problem by doing X, Y, and Z, and that's a game changer for the people who have this problem. If we stop right there, that's enough for a 15-second elevator ride, right? Would you like to set up time to talk more about that? You could get that follow-up, right? If you were able to say those three things. If it's a 3-floor ride on the elevator, you could add, here's what makes us unique. Other people do this, we do it differently. The benefits of the way we do it are ABC. Would you like to set up time to talk more about that next week? Okay, that's going to be our elevator pitch, and everything else is going to build off of that. The last time I was here, I talked to you a little bit about how to change minds. And Jake, or Josh, I'm sorry, Jacob was on the phone. Josh and I were talking a little bit about this earlier. People, if you were selling something to somebody who is skeptical, you need to change their mind. And this is sort of a worst case scenario, but sometimes you're facing this. People think that they understand your industry and your pain point. But people do a thing, behavior A, at the bottom of the screen, because they feel a certain way, generally that they're in the safest spot for the way that their business model works. They feel that way because they believe a certain thing about how it must be, because of a set of facts that they know. All of us do this. All of us act in a certain way that we do because we feel a way, because we believe a thing, because of things we know. What our story has to do is change somebody's mind, and what that looks like is getting somebody to behavior B. To do behavior B, they have to feel a different way, that they can be in a better spot, because they believe that now they know something advantageous because of something new that you have added to their fact set. They've gone from fact set A to fact set A plus B. You're not telling them they're wrong, because nobody will ever admit that they're wrong. You're saying, it's absolutely right, and I thought the same thing myself. Let me amplify that by adding the following facts. By adding those facts, what we've come to believe is that the thing we need to worry about is a little bit differently. And we think that it impacts you in the following way, so that they feel a certain emotional response to that new belief that they have. And then I'll tell you what, why don't we book some time to follow up a little bit later next week? Right? So even if they're skeptical, you can do this. Right? And that's what this story does. There's a lot of research that shows how to change behavior. There are 3 elements to it. You need to tell somebody that it matters, that it's easy to do something differently, and that you probably want to do this. This is studied in The Science Behind Swaying Others. Influencer is a great little quick business book read. There are 6 levers. Basically, you have personal, social, and structural levers. You have a motivation for it, and you want to give them an ability. Personally, I want to fix a pain point. Okay, here's some skills that you can use to solve that. Socially, I have FOMO. I want to do as well as other people are doing and benchmarked in my industry. Great, I'll offer my help. I'll show you how to involve the rest of your network and get peer help. Structurally, I want the benefits of this for my business. Terrific. I will make it easy for you to use my product to do, or my solution to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. Structurally, I'll back that one, sorry. There you go. I read books so you don't have to. There it is. Genuinely, if you read that whole book, you'll get case studies, and it'll come down to this one graph. Okay. You are not the hero of this story. You are the best supporting actor in this story that you are about to tell. Your customer and their pain point is the hero of the story. You are Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original story. You are going to help Luke. You are not Obi-Wan Kenobi in Kenobi. You are the best supporting actor. Okay. We have 3 different kinds of audiences that all will rely on your elevator pitch. And then we're going to workshop this way. Your elevator pitch plus the solution deep dive is an explainer piece that you can use to get inbound. This is your website. Your elevator pitch plus your science and methodology will fund your proof of concept. This is the core of your SBIR grant. Your elevator pitch plus who your team is and early product evidence is how you will structure your angel pitch so that you can validate your product with customers. Add customer feedback from that, and you'll have your Series A pitch to enter the market. Evidence of traction in the market, that's your Series B pitch plus your elevator pitch. That's your Series B pitch to grow as fast as possible. Evidence and a risk-free offer plus your initial sales pitch, plus your elevator pitch is your initial sales pitch. It says, trust me and buy what I'm telling you. That elevator pitch plus results and friction reducers for a follow-on buyer creates a sense of FOMO. Would you like to buy now? That's your follow-up sales pitch. And your immediate interview material is your elevator pitch plus who your customers are and the market context and sort of how your product fits into the broader picture, right? And now you're ready to be interviewed by the local news reporters. Okay? Okay, so that's the promise. Now we're going to build your story bit by bit. At this point, does anybody have any questions? Before moving in, would you like to go and get laptops if you don't have one? This is a good time to do it. Okay, so your elevator pitch is the key to all your stories. You are going to be asking yourself the following sets of questions to develop this. Are you focused on a customer industry and use case? Do you know the problem that you solve for it? This is a yes or no question to you. Do you know this? If yes, proceed. If not, there's research to do and I showed you what that looked like. Okay, if you know this, great. Can you define the consequences of the problem? And can you qualify or quantify the time, energy, and money lost? We were talking about qualifying the problem earlier. Sometimes the problem hasn't been quantified because it's so complicated. It's fine. Qualify how the problem feels to people and how frustrating that is. That's okay. If you can't do this, Perplexity.ai, check, Google check. We're just going to do a check. If you can answer this, great. Can you explain how your solution changes the game for the buyer from bad to good? If you're here, great. You already know the core of your story. Now, can you explain your solution and how it works so that an 8th grader would understand it? How a 5th grader would understand it? If not, ChatGPT is your friend. You give them your pitch. Chat, here's my pitch. Explain this to me using vocabulary that would be comprehensible to a 5th grader, an 8th grader, a 12th grader, a college graduate, and a PhD in my field. And it will go, you betcha. And it will give you all of those. When you are pitching people that are not an expert in your field, 8th grade level is about as sophisticated as a normal person is going to understand. 8th grade level. That's the writing in the Chicago Tribune. That vocabulary is at an 8th grade level. 12th grade level is the writing in The Economist. Economists aren't that smart. All of the material that Federico, that's your scientific material, that's going to go in your appendix. That's going to go in your appendix so that when somebody pushes back and they have their scientists sitting at the table and they say, but how do you know? You go, ah, thank goodness. And then you can go to your appendix and begin telling them how you figured this out. Then you get to be the hero of the story a little bit. But it's just going to be enough for them to trust you. If you can explain it the way that an 8th grader and a 5th grader would understand it, which would surprise me if you could do that yet, but ChatGPT will be your friend. Great. Tell us 3 ways that your solution creates benefits for your target customer. And use research to find out what those KPIs are in your customer's industry. The Love Brothers have done a great job at AI figuring that out. They figured out that there were 3 metrics that matter to hospital administrators. And they are able to explain the benefit of that. And that is, how many patients are coming into the hospital or into the healthcare system, what are they sick with, and what insurer is paying. Because a different insurer will pay differently. So that's great. They're well on their way. Once you can do that, just ask yourself, how do I move the receiver to the next meaningful step? How do I move this ball down the field? Right? It's not enough to tell somebody that you've solved this problem. You want them to do something for you. What is that thing? Okay? So here's where we're going to start. We're going to start here. Are you focused on a customer, industry, end use case? Does everybody here have an end use case? Who does not have an end use case? Who has more than one? This is a workshop, so this is where... Go ahead. You have more than one?
Yes.
Okay. You know that they're all going to be customers? Or they could be customers?
Not in the first couple of years.
Okay. All right. So we're going to work on some of that. And Adam, you've got a couple of different customers, but you've identified them as segments and what your value proposition is to each of them. Is that the situation you're in as well? Okay, great. Anybody else having a problem with this? We can move on? Great. Please take out your document in front of you and write in who your specific industry end user is in light gray lettering or a couple of prompts to sharpen your thinking. Let's take a couple of minutes to focus in on the industry, broaden out to similar problems that happen, and who your competitors are. Let's take a couple of minutes there. If you have questions, please raise your hand. Okay, while you write that up, we've got somebody with a new pitch that's ready over here. You ready to start reading?
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, wait.
Let's see.
Great. Now, Chad will get that wrong, because don't trust Chad.
Trust Chad.
Okay.
Trust you.
Oh, yeah. It does have all.
It has all?
Yeah. Already, that's what I'm saying, like it has
Oh,
much
good.
information.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, go for it.
So, many factories struggle with power outages, high electricity costs, and unreliable energy. In some cases, factories lose 0.5 to 5% of their yearly sales because of power failures and expensive backup generators, which are costly and bad for the environment. PowerBox creates smart technology that keeps their power stable even when the grid is weak. Our modular energy system connects with solar panels,
Sorry, it does that.
solar panels, batteries, and the electrical grid to reduce costs, improve reliability, and use cleaner energy. By using AI and real-time data, we help companies avoid energy waste and operate more efficiently.
Awesome. Bravo.
Right? That's clear. You understand the problem, you understand the solution. We can work on how to phrase it and try to find something that's really memorable next, but until we get the core of the story right, we're not going to be able to tell the story in a way that's going to really capture somebody's attention and keep it. Does anybody else have a version that they're ready to do yet? You guys, has everybody had a chance to dump this into chat? Some people are using phones, some people are using laptops.
I can read what I wrote.
Yeah, go ahead.
Influenza virus affects 60% of swine farms. Vaccine failure occurs to protect against this disease due to the high variability of the virus and the use of outdated vaccines. Crop producers lose 25% of their profit to swine flu. Our technology solves this problem of vaccine failure by targeting an invariable viral protein as a target antigen for the vaccine. This will eliminate vaccine failure.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Can I do it? I spent an hour with you this morning. Okay, here's how I do that. Did you know that every year, swine producers lose 25 to 30% of their razor-thin profits by having to buy new vaccines for pigs or to have herds of pigs die because they get the swine flu? This is something that causes diseases that spread to human beings. It increases food costs, and it's a massive, pervasive problem. And the way that you keep up with this is that you have to give those pigs, each herd, a flu shot every year. That's what's so expensive. Nature has a 4.5 billion year head start on evolution ahead of our vaccines, because most vaccines look at 2 of the 3 proteins that stick up from the surface of a virus. Those 2 evolve really quickly. The 3rd one we've discovered does not. That's what we target. By targeting that particular protein, that means that we can develop one vaccine that we can use again and again and again, no matter how the swine flu virus mutates. That reduces costs, increases health, and creates benefits. And as an added benefit, pigs are like people. And if we can do this for pigs, we could create one single flu vaccine for people. What if you only needed one vaccine? Right? So you can keep working on that. I did not use the word antigen. I got scared. I used the word protein, and I thought, should I have done that? I don't know. People are very familiar with what viruses look like, though, because of COVID, so that's a benefit that you have. But you've created the problem, the scope, the solution. I think that's awesome. Anybody else want to go? Okay. Let me, if you want to work on that together, there's 2 things that I want to do. I am going to send around, Gerald, to everybody that signed up, a copy of this deck with the hidden slides that show you what my prompts are, so you can plot those into Perplexity and ChatGPT. Okay, so that you can start working on this yourself and widen out that research, right? We've had to work really quickly here. The second thing that I can do is that I am available today. I think I'm booked through 4 o'clock hour, but if you want to book time with me, or see, who do they see to do that, Gerald? Sabrina.
I think we have, I think you booked to 4:45 currently.
Oh, okay. I'm booked throughout the day. But you'll get the chat prompts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if people are interested in time with you, then they usually go through the EIR process and
Okay.
request your time as well.
Okay. This process works. Here is, I've anonymized an EnterpriseWorks alumni. I called it Mini LTX. Their website says, Mini LTX's goal is to create the most extensive library of natural products using a robust discovery platform. This library will aid in advancing new chemical compounds into early stage pharmaceutical testing. The company's mission is to accelerate the discovery of new chemistry from nature that can enrich and extend human life, which is admirable. Is this anybody's company? Nobody, raise your hand. I went through this process, and what I came up with is the agrochemical industry faces increasing pest resistance and stricter regulations. The challenge results in longer development times, with new products taking 8 to 10 years to reach the market and costing $250 to $300 million on average to develop. Mini-LTX solves that by accelerating the discovery of new chemistry from nature, potentially reducing development time by 25% and increasing environmentally friendly product categories by 30 to 40%. Mini-LTX's benefits to customers include novel modes of action for pest control, faster time to market, and more sustainable product options. And from that, we can change it to something that looks more like this. The agrochemical industry struggles with pest resistance and stricter regulations, leading to skyrocketing development costs and longer time to market. This results in a 12-year, $300 million journey for each new product, billions lost to resistance pests, an increase in product bans, and a decrease in effectiveness. Mini-LTX's, here's how. Mini-LTX's AI-powered metabologenomics platform is a game changer. We'll probably take out metabologenomics. Mini-LTX's AI-powered platform is a game changer. We cut development costs by 25%, potentially saving 3 years per product, and can increase eco-friendly candidates by 40%. We've already developed CropGuard 4, the first new herbicide approach of its kind in 30 years, effective against pesticide-resistant weeds. By harnessing 4 billion years of microbial evolution, we're revolutionizing crop protection, making it faster, cheaper, and more sustainable. Right? Even my 8th grade kid would think that that was cool. And that's what I want you guys to be able to do. So that's a little case study there of what that looks like. Your elevator pitch is the core to all of these stories. I'm just going to prove this out to you. Our story is a game changer for you. That's what you want them to take away from this story today. Our idea is a game changer for you. But you can expand on that into an elevator pitch, into an explainer piece by going deeper into the industry problem, demonstrating your solution in action, relating personas with a problem, or coming up with an exciting new call to action. Then your story in that explainer piece is that your idea is a game changer for that reader and that your product deserves to exist because of the impact that it has. Which is pretty great. But you could add to that explainer piece and your elevator pitch these elements. You'll get this slide: scientific and technical details, early research data, review of literature, and this is your SBIR, STTR grant. Our idea is a game changer for you. Our product deserves to exist, and Uncle Sam, you can unlock that impact. Right? That's the story that they want to hear, which is pretty great. But you can take all three of those things, and if you added more detail on market size and opportunity, you're ready to go to investors. Our idea is a game changer. Our product deserves to exist. Uncle Sam agreed to help us unlock that impact, and you can help us sharpen that idea with our first customers. That's pretty cool. You can take that, you can add this to that. In-depth market analysis, MVP test results, early customer feedback, new elements like your go-to-market strategy and team expansion plans, and you could say, our idea is a game changer for you. Our product deserves to exist because of the impact that it has. Uncle Sam agreed to help us unlock that impact, and we sharpen that idea with our first customers. You can help us to enter the wider market. And that's pretty awesome. But then in your Series B pitch, you would add revenue traction, case studies of customer implementation successes, and scale-up strategies. And we can say, we sharpen the idea with our first customers, we have market traction, you can join us on that path to market leadership, and so on. Your elevator pitch is central to all of these different stories. And that's what I want you to take away from this today. I'll be around for the rest of the day, and if people have follow-up questions, I'll be here for another couple of minutes before my next appointment. Thank you very much.
We've done a lot of homework. I love it. You want the mic? Are you microphone brave?
Yeah, sure.
You're microphone brave.
I'm
Okay.
microphone babe.
All right.
You want to do it in like a point by point? How do you want me to go about doing this? Just say what I wrote?
Just
Okay.
say what you wrote so that we understand that there's a customer with a pain point and you solve it.
Right. So the customer that we're going after is the GEM markets. It's government, education, and medical. Generally defined as security operation centers with 50 people or less, or $10 million or less in funding.
I trust you. What's their problem?
The problem is that they have trouble with their investigations. These take 30 minutes per investigation, 3 hours per day, and each investigation can take about $1,000 to conduct. Yeah.
Okay.
Our solution is we're automating the investigation process, so no longer does it take 30 minutes, it doesn't take 3, and the cost is going to go from $1,000 to $100 or $10, depending on how much you pay your employees. And it's easy to use, install, no deployment costs or anything.
Outstanding. All right, round of applause.
Yeah, I love it. There's a huge problem for an enormous swath of our civil industries. It costs them millions of dollars a year, $1,000 per person. It takes days. We cut that down to minutes, and we reduce the cost by 90%. We make it easier to hire people. That's really good. Who else has got one? Yep.
Yeah, you're ready.
All right, so our customer segment is hospital systems. And hospital systems spend millions of dollars every year on data, and then they take that data and do manual Excel analyses to inform the strategic decisions that they make. The process takes months, and they don't trust the results. But it's very important for them to get it right because the implications of the decision are very significant. They would require a solution that's faster and it feels more trustworthy. Then, in terms of the consequences of the problem, it takes them months to conduct their analyses. And when projects don't end up being implemented, they usually spend like 6 to 8 months of wasted time. And when projects go right, people get promoted, and when projects go wrong, people get fired. To give some specific examples, there was a hospital system in Cincinnati that spent $50 million to open a new site of care. Their projections were that they were going to make $10 million a year in profit, and since that has opened, they have lost over $100 million. Another instance is a hospital system here in Illinois spends 6 to 8 months on projects, and they're doing like 10 of these projects at a time, and they end up killing like 50% of them. And whenever they kill one, everybody feels like they just wasted half a year.
So what's your from to? How do you make that faster?
So our technology accelerates their analyses from a few months to just a couple of seconds, and it improves the projection accuracy so that they can save time, reduce the risk on their investments, and the individuals can, become heroes.
Awesome.
That's great. That's the core of your story. I've got an example on here, but I don't think I can do better than the ones that you guys just heard. Anybody else want to do one? Bernard, to do one? Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Come on.
First responders have a problem with toxic gas exposures. There are 20,000 chemical spills a year, and they have no protection against it. This results in $8 billion a year of annual expenses, according to the Department of Transportation. And there is no inexpensive, portable, handheld toxic gas sensor. We have a new technology that delivers that in a matter of seconds. And that protects first responders from death and injury, and protects civilian populations from the consequences of those spills.
And taxpayers. That's awesome. Yeah, Robert.
That's fantastic, right? There's no solution to that until now, right? I think I heard that in my head, and there's no answer for that until now. If you can say until now, then you know that you're on the right track for those. So great, those are great examples, right? If you didn't get to the point where you can say something that fluidly yet, you've got the building blocks to begin getting yourself there. Does everybody feel confident with that? You believe? Okay. Not yet, but soon. And then always. All right, great. So if we've done those three, how much can we dumb down and simplify our solution? If you have a laptop, open it up. and start tapping away into Word or Notepad or Google Docs or the idea capturing format that you prefer and write your pitch. Write your pitch into that. If you have supporting details, type it in. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this. And this might be where we leave it. Okay. We're going to spend 10 minutes on this, and then we're going to dump that into ChatGPT and get some of the results. Type fast. It's your turn. So once we've done that, explain how your solution changes the game from bad to good. Be a game changer. Your technology is the game changer. Your from to, your brand promise. A comparison on time saved, money saved, energy returned, opportunities and possibilities unlocked. Show them the promised land. No, well, let's wait till we get the core done. Okay, everybody ready to move on? All right, great. We've picked our industry segment or use case segments that we're going to focus on. You would do this again for each industry segment. Anytime that they're different. If they've got a different pain point, you need to start the story differently. You'll have the same solution, but it'll be valuable to them in a different way. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is say, can you describe the consequence of the problem? Yes?
I do have a question about your familiar hook.
Yeah.
How do you make a familiar hook when it's something lay people are very much unfamiliar with?
In this case, I say, you know how, but they don't. Did you know would be the simpler way to do that. Just flip that around. And each of you said something to me today that I didn't know. You were 3 for 3. I had not thought of any of these problems before, but fascinating. What we figured out is that there's a problem with a hole this big in that industry. Great, and you cement that. It's actually a great lead into this. You cement that with this next thing. It's a huge problem. So what I want you to write in this box now for the next minute or two is how huge that problem is. What are the consequences of the problem? Qualify and quantify that in the amount of time, energy, and money that is lost. The consequences to the customer and their industry, the time it steals, the money it wastes, the extra effort it implies. And if you can think of concrete examples, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, all of those things really drive home that you are the master of this customer pain point. I understand this. And the more details you can provide quickly and elegantly, the more it's going to cement that.